ordinarily, and especially with most researchers here, what you have is that people will come to their chapter 2, some of the name of doing your chapter 2, and then I'll teach you what to do and how to do it well. So ordinarily, you know your topic, you go online, and most times ordinary Google, and you download articles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe sometimes 15 or 10. And what you do is you pick this one written by Somadina in 2020, and you read. After reading, you summarize and write in your paragraph. You take another one, read and summarize, so that in your chapter 2, you are having something like this. This is your chapter 2 now. You have, after the introductory aspect of it, you will now pick Somadina in so and so said this. And after this paragraph, if there are other things you want to say about this particular work, you move to the second paragraph and then continue. Maybe you stop Somadina here and you keep this work. You pick this one written by John Smith and you summarize from here. John Smith in his article titled, you summarize, stop here, and you drop this one. You pick another one. You know these things are saved in your system, either printed or soft. This is ordinarily what most of us do. So you pick this one. Sure, they are works related and relevant to the study. And what you're doing, you said you're doing is literature review. You pick this one, begin again, Emeka, Ike, in so and so work, summarize, you keep. And all the works you have downloaded, you keep summarizing, and at the end, you come to the concluding paragraph and conclude. Maybe you will say, critics who have written on Things Fall Apart have discussed in this way, but none has said anything about manliness or loneliness in Things Fall Apart. And you conclude your chapter 2. And that is not literature review. What you did is simply to list people who have written something on Things Fall Apart. That is not literature review. What you have come to learn is how to do a standard and classic literature review. And how do you do that? So the very first thing is same with this nursery and kindergarten style, because I call this one nursery and kindergarten style. And you're no more in nursery school. So the very first thing is to know what areas you are going to review studies on. Because that chapter 2, what you are telling your reader, what you want to do is to tell your reader, this is the discussion already existing in this area of study. So the very first thing is for you to know your variables, both dependent and independent variables. What are the key careers of this project? Faith's project, for instance, is male loneliness. Male loneliness in Things Fall Apart and what?
And identity crisis in Things Fall Apart.
Good. Male loneliness and identity crisis in Things Fall Apart. This is almost the same format with all your topics. So when I use a topic, you delete her topic from your head and put your own. Are we together? Good. So male loneliness. And now I'm going to choose just one variable there. This is not going to be a long class. But whatever I say about one variable there is the same with all the other ones. So, in her work now, she has male loneliness, identity crisis, things fall apart, and what? A man who is not a man. So she has two social issues and two primary texts. Do you understand me? Just like Somalia, what do you have? Topic. Okay. So, rewriting myth. So, mythical studies. The key word there is myth. And the other one is Ceci. The text is Ceci. She has just two variables. So you can have two, you can't have one. You can have two, you can have three, you can have four. But let it not exceed 4 at this level of your studies under G. For masters, you can have up to 6. 5, 4 still, 6. Then for PhD, you can move beyond 6. So at this level, just keep it at even 4. 4 will really, you need to really pay attention to the careers of your project. So, but then that is it. So you have male loneliness, identity crisis, and things fall apart, and a man who is not a man. So what you do first and foremost is to get, so the first one is to be sure of your variables. Okay? You note your variables. Then go to the internet and get relevant works. Either the internet or the library. Or, yes, basically internet, library. Get, because what are you looking for? What you're looking for is male loneliness in other texts. Not in things fall apart. Not in a man who is not a man. Are we together? Good. Identity what? Crisis in other texts. So it could be identity crisis in Arrow of God. She may go to the internet now and find someone who has written a work on identity crisis in Faithless, identity crisis in Beyond the Horizon, identity crisis in Nervous Condition, identity crisis in other texts. Because what she wants to do is to tell the reader that studies on identity crisis in other texts are saying this, and this. Because if she finds identity crisis and things fall apart and a man who is not a man, that means that somehow her topic is not original. Do you understand me? But then, what if you go online and find identity crisis and things fall apart and in a man who is not a man? You're encouraged to read it. Don't shy away from it, run away from it, and possibly you come to your work cited, you won't cite it, so that your panelists will not say, why are you repeating what you do is, in fact, that work becomes one of your core works to review. But what you're going to do is, you read it again and know what this person has said and what he has not or she has not said that you want to say. Remember, research is searching again. That means there could be the possibility that there has been a search before. Do you understand me? Good. So, but pay attention more to in Google in your own text to be sure you won't find it. The first step is to know your variable. The second step is to know how to search. And how to search is these social issues in other texts. Look for this social issue in all the texts so that faith, for instance, should get about 6 for this level of study. The more you move, the more you should get. But at this level, at least 6 to 8 male loneliness in other texts. The same with yours. Mythic study in other texts, not text. So, then identity crisis, this one is so many. But look at you're doing this now in that library, or if you have personal access to the abstracts. You know, sometimes some of these journals will give you the abstract, but then to open the whole work, they will now ask for access. So, in the abstract, read and see if it's what you need. Then you download. So, 6 to 8. Now, because you are in English and Literary Studies department, we need to know, and here we do business with novels, with text. Do you understand? So we need to know if you are working on Things Fall Apart, and you know that in the West, in the North, in the South, in America, in Canada, and there are people studying Things Fall Apart. There are people studying methodological tests. There are people studying identity tests. There are people studying Americana. There are people studying authors. So we need to know, where is this study at the moment? What are people writing? We need to know what others have written. And so she has to tell us Things Fall Apart, other issues discussed on Things Fall Apart, other than these two. Do you understand? Like I have a work published, Remapping Exile and Things Fall Apart, was published either 3 years ago. And I have another one, The Psychology of Exile, Border Crossing and the Psychology of Exile, in the same text, published sometime. So there are people, there are critics, there are researchers writing on these texts. So what you do is, you get the one, someone like her now may not really pick the psychology of exile. She will be looking at ideas around identity others have done in Things Fall Apart. Do you understand me? So what helps you to trim down? Because if you have to review everything written on Things Fall Apart, then you'll be reviewing more than 1 million works. So what helps you to trim down is to look at their title and see how close they are to your own title. Do you understand me? See how close they are to your own title, and then so you pick